So this is dimensioning 1, and I'll do number 1 as an example for all of you guys. So for dimensioning 1, first we'll add the extension lines and then the dimension lines. By the way, in the instructions it says here, dimension each object, use continuous dimensioning, and with special attention to where the features appear, where you could actually see the shapes. And then include the overall dimension. So if there are 3 dimensions, one of the dimensions need to be the overall dimension. And then omit actual measurements. So we're not going to put numbers, but we're going to put spaces for the dimensions so that you get used to it. So I'll start off with the top view, and the top view, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 edges for the length, but this is not the best place for you to dimension it because you cannot see the feature, you cannot see the actual shape. The best place for you to put the length dimension would be on the front view. And the only thing that we could put here is the depth. Okay, so here I could add the depth. Remember, the extension line is about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. So I go something like this. And again, I'm just using approximation for this one. And then I put an arrowhead, and then I go down, and then another arrowhead, leaving a space in between for the dimension, which we are not going to be adding. Okay, so I'm done with the depth. Now let's add some dimension for the length and the height. So for continuous dimensioning, we're just going to start from the left going to the right. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 edges. And like I say in the previous video, subtract 1, 4 minus 1, there should be 3 dimensions, okay? And we start off with the smallest dimension first, or the smaller dimensions. So extension line, and then I'll put the dimension line. Arrow, and then a line, and then arrow. Okay, so that's the first one. Next, I'm going to dimension from the second edge to the third edge. So I'll go up like this. And since it's continuous dimensioning, my arrow will touch the arrow from the previous dimension. And then I'll continue and finish off right there. So I have my second dimension. Now there is a third dimension, which is the dimension for this, but the rule says we cannot do that. Instead, we need to provide the overall dimension. So I'm going to extend that. And then from down here, I'll start with an extension line and then draw my arrowhead and approximately put the blank or the space in the middle, and then finish off with an arrow. So I have one dimension here, a second dimension here, and an overall dimension. That's a total of 3 dimensions added. And then this dimension, you can deduce that dimension by adding these 2 dimensions and subtracting it from the overall dimension. Okay, now for the bottom, for the height, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 edges, which means 4 minus 1, that gives us 3 dimensions. The first dimension would be from here to here. And then I could draw an arrowhead again, and then just leave a space there. And then from this edge to that edge. And then do my dimension line. And then the last extension line would be from all the way here. And this one is going to be an overall dimension. And then I'm going to extend the extension line down here. And then draw my arrowheads. And that's it. So this is the first one. It's all been done for you. Okay, the only example that I'm going to give you also is example number 3, where you have the top view and then the front view. As you can see in the front view, you have 1, 2, 3 edges, but the front view is not the best view for you to see the features. You could see that there's a diagonal going through here. So the top view is the best place for us to dimension the length, and it's the best place also for us to dimension the depth. And then the only dimension that we need to get from the front view is the height. Okay, so I'm going to do this part right here. So I'll start off by drawing dimensions here, an extension line here to here. And then instead of edges, there's 1, 2 edges, but there's a point here. So I'll consider that as 1, 2, 3, which means I will need 2, 3 minus 1, 2 dimensions. So that's the first dimension. The second dimension is I'm going to extend that, and then I'm going to extend this coming from, draw an extension line from that edge, and I'm going to draw my dimension lines here with my arrowheads. All right, so that's the first one. That's for the length of the object. For the depth, or how deep the object is, I'm going to start off with the smaller dimension, which is this. And then extend this. And then draw an extension line from that point. And then go draw my dimension lines now here. Okay, so that's number 3. And then of course here you just have to go dimension this part right here. Okay, and then I leave number 2 and number 4 with you for dimension 1.